Hey, it's Lyn Leahz. This is part two about the Obamacare beheadings, where I would see for yourself, including those who have not had a trial. Now, you might be asking if you didn't see the other video yet, well, what do you mean by that? Well, it says right here in this article, let me move the screen over. I had read these in the last video where this woman named Lori Anderson, who's a reporter from Freedom Outpost, she says a faithful reader had sent her a code and asked her to investigate how it ties in to the larger scale of things. The specific code sent to me will make any American's hair stand on the back of their neck. The code is ICD 9E978. After reading this code, I decided that it was my duty to investigate further and get to the bottom of why we have a medical code in the United States for legal execution. Below are my results. Okay. All executions performed at the behest of the judiciary or ruling authority, whether permanent or temporary, is asphyxiation by gas, beheading, decapitation by guillotine, capital punishment, electrocution, hanging, poisoning, shooting, other specified means, injury undetermined whether accidentally or purposely inflicted. Now, according to reports, more than 68,105 new medical codes are being added due to the Obamacare monstrosity. Doctors all across the nation have been complaining due to the overwhelming burden it places upon them. Now, I realize those of you who watched my first video already heard this. I'm just brushing over this part of it real quick for those who didn't. Doctors are not happy about this because it will make them the enemy to people because of codes and medical records. Basically, the United Nations would be in charge of that, and here's what it says. These codes were not created by Obamacare. Okay, however, Obamacare is trying to implement every American citizen under international codes to link us to the international system. These codes were actually created by the WHO, or WHO, which is the World Health Organization. The WHO is a specialized agency of the United Nations. And then she asks several questions here, which are very interesting. Why has the United States been subjected to international medical coding without our knowledge? Why are we allowing coding that goes against our principles and Constitution? Why do we have a code for legal execution, which is illegal in America, with the exception of those given the death penalty after trial by jury? When did the Department of Homeland Security find out about this coding, and why haven't they addressed this since they're supposed to protect the people? Why is DHS sending any kind of medical coding to the states? Why haven't the doctors spoken out to make Americans and Medicare recipients aware that their information has been given to an international body? Why haven't they made people aware that the WHO is a specialized agency of the United Nations and directly linked to the League of Nations under the guise of collecting data? Why would we allow forced medical coding through congressional bills to come from an organization that supports UN Agenda 21, Millennium Development Goals, and supports the eradication of sprawl, which is average people like you and I? And then finally, number 9, I'm going to show you something else, just a little something I noticed in the article I showed in the last video. Is law enforcement aware of this specific code? If so, why haven't they brought this to the attention of the American people? Okay, so it talks about innocent people even possibly having this enforced on them. And in case you didn't notice, it goes to the number 3. Why do we have a code for legal execution, which is illegal in America? Okay, with the exception of those given the death penalty after trial by jury. Okay, do you follow me there? All right. So then you go over here. Okay. And you have this statement. We're on the New Yorker, okay? It's talking about a guy named Lockett that I discussed in my last video that was executed for a crime he committed in 1999, where he shot a 19-year-old and then watched as she was buried alive. Then they talk about Charles Warner, an inmate who was to be executed after Lockett for raping and killing an 11-month-old baby girl in 97. And it says this is not about whether these two men are guilty. That is not in dispute. Ryan Kiesel, the executive director of the American Civil Liberties Union, Oklahoma office said in a statement, but look what he says here that kind of is confusing if you ask me. Maybe it's just me, I don't know. Maybe it won't be to you. It says, rather, it comes down to whether we trust the government enough to allow it to kill its citizens, even guilty ones, in a secret process. Why does he say it like that? Rather, it comes down to whether we trust the government enough to allow it to kill its citizens. Allow it to kill its citizens, even guilty ones. Why did he throw in even guilty ones? It doesn't make sense to me. And then you go along with what I just read about the back here, number 3, legal execution. Okay, kind of scary if you ask me. It really looks like they are pushing for this whole beheading business. So I had brushed on this article here on politifact.com, and I stopped right about here where it says, what's going on here? It says the idea appears to trace back to a November 8th, 2013 post by Lori Anderson on the blog Freedom Outpost, and that's what it was reposted, and that repost is what I just shared with you. Anderson cites a document known as the ICD-9, which refers to the 9th update of the International Classification of Diseases. ICD-9 is a lengthy list of medical conditions and causes of death published by the World Health Organization and used in the United States by medical professionals for billing purposes and by health statisticians who study causes of death. One of the categories in ICD-9 is this one, legal execution, all executions performed at the behest of the judiciary or ruling authority, whether permanent or temporary, as asphyxiation by gas, beheading, blah, blah, blah. I already read those to you. Anderson wrote that the connection between the coding system, Obamacare, and legal execution would make any American's hair stand up on the back of their neck. But if anything, subsequent posts on other websites destroyed any nuances she included. One even accompanied a blog post with a drawing of Uncle Sam with his head in a guillotine. Okay, now it talks about the WHO's coding system. Here's the reality about the World Health Organization coding system, does and does not do. As PolitiFact noted in a previous fact check, the United States medical system currently uses ICD-9 and is in the process of transmitting to ICD-10. Doctors' offices use the codes to fill out Medicare and Medicaid claims, among other things. Their billing and practice management software is based on them. Their employees are trained to use them. You probably see these in doctors' offices all the time where they have the computer screen set up. The transition to ICD-10 is somewhat controversial, though not because of beheading. The American Medical Association says that depending on the size of the medical practice, it will cost $83,290 to more than $2.7 million to switch. Doctors are dealing with so many other expensive regulatory changes. The association has begged since 2011 to delay or give up on the switch altogether. But the federal government is requiring American doctors and any organization covered by the 1996 healthcare law known as HIPAA to switch to ICD-10 by October 1st, 2014. That's because ICD-9 has outdated medical terms and not enough detail for accurate claims processing according to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. And they've got this hyperlink so you can check it out. In fact, the rest of the world began switching to the new codes 20 years ago, and now most developed countries now use it. Why Obamacare isn't implementing beheading. So one can make a reasoned argument over details of how or whether the United States should transition to the new coding system, but the possibility of beheadings is just scare talk. Here are some of the problems. A doctor can't bill an insurer for a beheading. Obamacare, a program that addresses health care for living, doesn't have anything to do with beheading. The beheading category in the code is for the purposes of compiling death statistics. something the Center for Disease Control and Prevention handles. So basically what they're doing here, you saw the top of the article, okay? Politico is, of course, trying to debunk this and say, well, this is a reason, this is the reason it's crap. This isn't true, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Well, yeah, well, we know who runs their stuff here, but anyhow, I mean, I saw it, you saw it. I mean, it's pretty clear to me. Why do they have to put beheadings by guillotine in this bill? There's something fishy here. I don't care what Politico tries to say, or they think they're debunking, or they're trying to say um, that the reason beheading is in the code is because it is a common method of execution in Saudi Arabia and some other countries, and it is practiced by some militant and terrorist groups. So for an international coding system, beheading, for better or for worse, is necessary. Our ruling, according to Politico, bloggers have recently offered post headline like this one: Obamacare medical codes confirm execution by beheading to be implemented in America, but the coding system in question long predates Obama, and the beheading classification is only relevant for death statistics, not for insurance billing. That would be under Obamacare's purview. Finally, the beheading code is for statistical purposes. Yeah. Anyways, so you can check out what they have to say about it. And this article was from Saturday, November the 23rd, 2013. Okay. So they feel they've debunked this. I don't. I mean, I've looked at the information. I don't trust Obama. I don't trust Obamacare. I definitely don't trust the United Nations. And I know that we're living in the end times. We're the generation. So I think with everything that's being said, our government is definitely looking for a way. We've got the coming New World Order. There's going to be some really tragic things that are going to happen here very soon, which you've heard me discuss already about earthquakes, the crash of the economy. We're going to be set up for this New World Order, whether we like it or not. We're not going to have a choice. And then it's going to bring in the man who will be the Antichrist. So this all plays into that. You can see by the headlines I've shown you. Federal judge says guillotine or firing squad's better than lethal injection. Okay, and he's very prominent. You saw here on ABC News, appeals judge says guillotine probably best for executions. Then we have it written here in Obamacare, which I just showed you here. Okay, I mean, there's really nothing here to debunk, if I can speak properly here. Stuff's getting nuts. Okay, this is in there. Take a look for yourself and see what you think. Well, I've shown you now, and I have all these links, including the article claiming to debunk it on politifact.com, which is Tampa Bay Times. You can look at it. Thank you very much, and God bless you.